This video tutorial describes the business mapping and text readings assignments that you'll have in your Marketing 485 Business GIS and Marketing class. So let's take a look at the schedule to see where you'll find those. And we'll begin with the business mapping exercises. Notice that these take the first couple of 3 weeks of the class, and they are laid out in a variety of individual tasks that walk you through the assignment. So let's look at those. The first thing you'll do, and you'll begin this early on, is to read through the organizational scenario and select a location within West Kentucky that you would like to build your site around and use your business mapping skills for. We're going to be using a variety of tools that are readily available on the web so that you can use those for any organizational scenario or setting that you end up working in after you leave Murray State. So you begin by creating Google accounts, downloading Picasa software, and completing a ESR global account, and you follow these links to get the information to do that and get those accounts ready. Once you've done that, you're ready to start on the individual tasks. And you have 5 individual tasks in this business mapping project. Each of those is worth 5 points. The first of those, for example, is building a basic website with Google Sites. So the way you do that is you read over the instructions, which tells you how to build that site. You watch the video, which gives you instructions step by step on how you get that set up. And once you've completed the assignment for that task, as described at the end of task 1, you go to the Blackboard system, and in the assignments page, you simply click on the business mapping assignment and enter here the URL for the Google site that you've created and hit submit. That then submits that assignment for grading purposes. I will evaluate it in the grade book, and you will see a grade in the Business Mapping 1 section of the course. You then, in the schedule, go on to task 2, which is to embed a Picasa slideshow and YouTube video within the site that you've just created. So in this task, you get an introduction to how you use Picasa to create web albums, and an introduction to how you select a YouTube video and integrate that back into your Google website. Now you might need to go back and run this video again for the embedding process, but as soon as you have those items embedded and running, then you go through the process again of uploading that site, just entering the URL for your Google site as Business Map 2 and submitting that. So you go through that process for each step in the business mapping project. Task 3 has to do with Google Maps. Task 4 no longer has an embedding exercise, but now you answer a series of questions. You look through the Google Places system, learn some information about that through the tutorial and through your work with Google Places, and then answer a series of questions on the value of Google Places for a local organization. And then in the final task, you will use some online mapping resources to help the West Kentucky Restaurant Guild, the organization that we're working for in this assignment, figure out where in the West Kentucky area to place the site for its offices. In each one of those, after each one of those, you submit the results of your work as a business mapping task 1 through 5. Each of those is worth 5 points apiece, and you'll find those then in the assignment section of Blackboard. And that completes the business mapping project. So let's go back and take a look then at the next part of the class and the reading exercises. Note that from the time we start the business GIS tutorial book, we are working with some of the exercises in that book but also some of the content. Now we're going to be handling those in 2 separate ways. There's another video later on how you'll be doing the projects and summaries and reports that are related to the specific activities of business GIS activities in those chapters, but this has to do with how you cover the content. So in 21st, for example, of September, click on Intro, and now you see you have a series of questions that come out of that out of the textbook, but also some other resources that we're going to be using over the course of the semester. And you also have some information on which teams answer which questions. So the way that works is you read the relevant material, you complete whatever other resources or activities are necessary to answer the questions. You determine which questions your team is responsible for. For example, let's move on to chapters 1 and 2. The Robins and Cardinals work in chapter 1. The Bluebirds and Doves work in chapter 2. You can see the questions you're responsible for, and then you answer those questions and post them to the Blackboard discussion group. Now let's see how that works. I'm going to assume for right now that I'm a Bluebird, that I have responsibility for questions 1 and 2 in chapter 2. So to find out my team allegiance, I would move to group pages. That's communication, and then group pages in Blackboard, and I find out that I'm a Bluebird. So I have responsibility then for items 1 and 2. That means that in the discussion board for chapter 2 under textbook question answers, under chapter 2, I have responsibility for posting the answers to questions 1 and 2 here. So I compose those questions, my answers to those questions, in Notepad or Word, and then reply to this thread, enter my answers here, and indicate that these are the Bluebirds chapter 2 answers, and submit that. And my posting shows up, and now I'm ready to go. Now the responsibilities that you have for postings are allocated by team, but within the team you can manage them any way you'd like. You can work with your teammates to come up with single answer to the questions, or you can allocate these individually among members of the team. Now you will have a written contract in which you designate the person on your team who has responsibility for posting the answers to the questions in the Blackboard discussion area, but you will be able to determine among yourselves how you're going to actually come up with the answers to those questions, whether you want members of your team to work individually or whether you want to work collectively on those and have just the one person who's assigned to post the answers do that. So that's the way we're going to be covering the material in the reading exercises, and that process will continue throughout the semester. And that concludes this video tutorial.